Hey everybody, this is Auntie. Let's start that over again. All right, I'm getting tired. All right, starting in five, four, three, two, one. Hey everyone, this is Anne Marie, the anti-HR lady, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Black Women Who Coach. This is a series on YouTube where I share Black women who are coaches with the rest of you and hope that you will learn and appreciate the value of having Black women as your coach. I always say, if you're going to have a coach, then get a Black woman to do it. I am also the founder of the Black Women Coach Directory, which you can find at blackwomencoach.com, where you can find a collection of Black women who are coaches that you can work with. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe, like, and comment. And the information about each coach will be in the description so that if you'd like to work with them, you can do that. Today, we are talking with Coach Alexis Mobley. And welcome, Alexis. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. So I am a coach consultant and founder of I Matter Coaching and Consulting. We activate transformation in high achieving women, specifically those within underrepresented groups, to aid them in living authentic, empowered lives on their terms. And, ultimately it's about helping those women overcome those limiting beliefs they've developed through familial experiences, workplace experiences, overcoming self-sabotage, and those trying to mitigate some of those behaviors that keep them stagnant from reaching their full potential.
What inspired you to be a coach and to do this type of coaching?
Funny enough, I was not inspired to be a coach. Funny enough, coaching was an accidental discovery. My graduate degree is in executive coaching and organizational consulting. And consulting is where I thought I'd spend the remainder of my career. And once I found coaching to be that purposeful calling, I knew that I wanted other Black and brown women to experience the same awakening and unlocking that I had when I was on within my coaching program. And so that helped formulate the type of coach I wanted to be, specifically helping Black women and brown women know that it was okay to take up space. And I mean, take up space in every sense of the word, go after those long held or long abandoned dreams, and put themselves first when making life decisions. Now, full transparency, all of that required me to work through and release my own limiting beliefs, specifically around whether I could activate transformation in someone.
Yep. Well, isn't that usually the way it works? You have to do the work on yourself before you, well, not always, but ideally, if you're going to do it well, you have to do the work on yourself first.
Absolutely.
Why would you say the kind of coaching that you provide is so important? And why is it important to have you doing it as a Black woman? What's the value add to that?
Yeah. So let me start with why coaching is important, first of all. So it's coaching is one of those amorphous things. Like it doesn't always have like a tangible end result, especially if you're doing life transformation or transformation work within someone's life. So I like to say that coaching it's invaluable for individual development, and it helps folks clarify those goals and priorities, provides you some accountability, and it offers fresh perspectives and support while facilitating that personal growth. Many people are operating within a framework of their default. Well, those defaults are often not of your own making. They are not aligned with your true self. And so as a coach, specifically as a Black woman, aiding other Black women in their journey, it's important to have someone on the other side of the aisle, if you will, who has contextual understanding, experience within some of those shared understandings. And it allows you to show up as yourself, not providing context of what certain words mean, what certain cultural references mean. There's an inherent understanding of certain shared cultural norms that are just brought to the table in most cases. Now, why that's a value add is having a Black woman as your coach provides a unique perspective on those challenges and systemic oppressive and microaggressive experiences that Black women face. Also, specifically, and it really helps you feel seen, heard, and validated. Many Black women are walking around not feeling validated in their experiences, either because they are associated with people who don't have those lived experiences, they work in workplaces with people who don't share those lived experiences, or they just don't have a community around them who can validate, yes, you are within an environment that is no longer working for you and you need to leave. And we also bring that cultural sensitivity, and it informs how I show up as a coach, because I cannot help you navigate some challenges without understanding how does your identity, your racial makeup come into play. Now, of course, not every scenario brings those to bear, but having that contextual sensitivity, that is, I call it like, that's a superpower. Also, I am able to help understand or help navigate those feelings of imposter syndrome. And finally, I would say I provide that safe space for empowerment. I help you take off your wig, if you will, put it to the side and say, look, this is the one space in my life I can show up as myself fully, without judgment, without recrimination, simply existing and being, and be held and feel that I will walk away somehow empowered and motivated.
What would you say are the qualities that a person who's seeking the type of transformational coaching you provide should be looking for in a coach?
Absolutely. I think you should look for three things. One, someone who actively listens. If you are engaging with a person, whether that's in your discovery call, your actual coaching sessions, where your coach is doing more talking than you are, that's not an active listening opportunity. You want someone who is empathetic. Empathetic, not sympathetic. I can be sympathetic to your plight, but a lot of times people take sympathy as owning the responsibility for solving that problem. I am empathetic to what you're experiencing, but I don't own that. I am empathetic, but I'm also, and this is the third one, I am able to call you on your stuff, meaning that I can hear what you're saying. I can understand that this may not be an ideal situation, and then also ask you, so what are we doing about it? How do you want to navigate forward? There's that level of inherent accountability that comes with coaching, and not many people are prepared for that level of that aspect of coaching.
Let me ask you the counterpoint to that question, which is, how do you decide what an ideal client is for you? How do you decide, yes, this person is going to be willing to go through this process successfully and intentionally, or they can't? How do you decide what's a good person for you to engage with?
Yeah. So for me, that's why for me, that discovery call is paramount. I need to have a conversation with you before I take your money. So for me, I'm looking for that person who might be a little hesitant or skeptical about coaching, but they understand that something in their lives no longer work. They are not happy with where they are. They've looked up and realized, is this it? I have 3 degrees, 3 master's degrees, and 7 PhDs, and I'm still not happy. What else is missing? And also, I'm looking for someone who is eager and open to learning. Let me say it that way, because resistance is expected in this space. Don't have a problem with that. But if you walk into the door of a coaching session and you feel as if you know everything, there's nothing else for you to learn, and you're unwilling to put in any effort while still expecting some level of transformation, that is not a client that I can work with, because at that point, I am dragging you along, and I cannot want it more for you than you want it for yourself.
Yes. I hope you guys are paying attention, because these are good ones. You got to be ready. I think that goes for any type of, coaching or consulting support, if you're not open to the process and going through the process in the way that is presented by that person. And if it's not what you're looking for, then that person isn't for you. But you're doing yourself a disservice and the coach a disservice if you engage and then you're not prepared to do the work, and to do the work in the way that you all have discussed and agreed that the work is going to be done.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about how folks can work with you. Coach Alexis's information is going to be in the description in this video, so you will be able to find her. She's a member of the Black Women Coach Directory, so you can also find her there. But I always like to make sure I give you an opportunity to tell people like how to find you, what you're working on, how they can engage with you.
Sure. So I am everywhere. I am at I Matter Coaching. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, I Matter Coaching. What I'm working on, I am working on becoming Minority Woman Business Owned Certified here in New York City, New York State. Because again, as you know, it's about putting your name out there so that more people have an opportunity to experience coaching from a Black woman. And for me, that's very important because I know from my own experience, I didn't have a Black woman coach until later in life. And many people never experience a Black woman coach. And some people, unfortunately, feel that there's no difference. So I want to make sure that I am in those spaces where we are, so that everyone has access to someone who looks like me.
And I think it's really important. And I think also the way that a lot of us get referred for coaches is in a very problematic way. And I was just talking to a coach in another conversation, and she said, white employees get given coaching as professional development, and Black employees get given it as performance improvement plan. So Correct. It immediately puts us in a way at odds with the idea of coaching. And I really want us to realize that coaching is a really good thing, and it can be a really great thing, even when you're sent to it in the context of there being something wrong with you, which 9 times out of 10 is probably not the case in the workplace, mm-hmm. but you can still leverage the experience to your benefit. And I think you do that best if you hire a Black woman to be your coach. In my own professional and personal experience, where I was told that I needed to go and get coaching, but praise God, I hired a Black woman, and it changed the whole trajectory of my life in a positive, extremely positive way. So even when they're trying to message to you that, oh, there's something wrong with your communication style, you need to get a coach, or, oh, you know what, go hire a Black woman and find out whether in fact the problem is you or whether it's something else, right? So Agreed. It's always still a really important thing to leverage. And I really like more of us to do that. And also for more of us as Black women, which is something I'm thinking about more, how for us to get into those rooms where the decisions get made about who the coaches should be offered, right? Because it's always who people know that they'll send you to. And so if more of us can get on those coaching, those corporate coaching lists, mm-hmm. right? Then employees have more options of working with people who's really going to be understanding what their lived experience is and working for their benefit and helping them to, advance professionally and get the career development that they need. So I'm glad to hear that you are pursuing that in New York State, because it'll give people more access to you in New York State. But I really would like more of us to do some of those things so that we are, on those lists. I know mm-hmm. that when I was working somewhere, I was very active about getting more diversity into the coaching list that I saw, because I was like, where are the Black people when I saw that list, right? So it's more of us also consciously who are in these human resources departments and so on, putting more people of color and specifically Black people and Black women on these lists for selection for coaching support, so that we're getting more of that contract, getting more of that coin, that good HR coin, and being in a position to help more of us in these work environments, because a lot of these work environments are very problematic. And I know that several of my clients have come to me because they had a Black woman coach who told them, maybe you need to talk to the anti-HR lady. Maybe the problem is not you, right? So I think more of us having access to people who are willing who understand what our experiences might be in some of these workplaces, and can recognize sometimes, yes, it is you as an employee and there are things that you need to improve, but sometimes it's not you. And having someone who understands your lived experience, it means that you have access to someone who can tell you either way. Because yeah, sometimes people do have to be called out on their stuff. And sometimes it really is something that you need to change, but sometimes it really isn't. And so having a coach who's a Black woman really helps in that regard, I think.
I would also add that for those who, let's just say for whatever reasons, their organizations refuse to extend coaching, then that is your responsibility to probably possibly invest in professional development on your own. But I think part of that has to, that narrative also needs to change about what is coaching. Coaching is an investment. It is an investment in your future. And I think sometimes people don't look at it as an investment. They look at it as, oh my goodness, there's so much upfront cost that is required. But when you look at the ROI over your long term, that return on investment over the long term, it can feel like a drop in the bucket. Yeah. But that requires a mindset shift.
One thing I know is that you got to spend money to make money. I always tell people. And that's the case whether you're an entrepreneur or whether this is about you making money in terms of your career advancement. And so sometimes if you can't get the coaching through your job, you may need to go hire someone. And my question always is, would you be applying that barometer if the person was white? If the person wasn't someone like you? Would you still be concerned about the cost? In many cases, the answer to that is no. So I think some of us also need to engage in some examination of those things about what we value and what we put value on. But you got to spend money to make money, ladies and gentlemen. And so if you want to get the career advancement and you want to get the support that you need, when you're hiring a coach, you're making an investment in yourself, right? But also in a lot of work environments, you can, in fact, get your job to pay for it. And you can hire, and in many cases, you can hire the person that you want. You get a certain amount of money to spend, and you can negotiate with that person and spend, get the coaching money from your job to pay a coach. So I think more of us just need to get more educated about, coaching and as a professional development tool, and understand that it's an investment that you make. And sometimes it's an investment you may have to make out of pocket, but sometimes it's an investment that you can actually get your job to cover for you.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
And most of us don't really understand how to do that. And I'm going to be talking more about that over the summer, is about, how to get to the coaching and how to get your job to pay for your coach, and how to, even if your coach isn't on the list, how to get your coach on the list and things like that. Because people don't even consider that they can do some of these things, right? And a lot of us really do see coaching in a negative light because it's always been used as a bat against us at work. So it's not something that we realize that we can actually get on our own and leverage for our career development. My last question for you is, what is one of the most important things you've learned about yourself through coaching?
That's a really good one. I would say, and this is going to sound braggadocious, but before I experienced coaching, I would always say, like, I'm awesome. That whole fake it till you make it. But I learned that I am a kick-ass person, and that I genuinely like myself. Now, granted, there's always stuff that you can work on, but I learned to truly like and love who I am, exactly how I am. The rest of the world,
and that's
a powerful
thing. And that's a powerful thing.
It is.
Because everybody don't need to love you. Because that's the one thing that has always been my superpower. Even since I was a kid, people used to say that to me. You just never cared. But people, takes a lot of people a long time, and some of us never get there. And it's not about being mean and not caring about other people's feelings, but it's about not internalizing other people's opinions of you. Correct. I always tell people, what other people think of me is not my business. Right.
And it unlocks how I showed up.
Yeah.
It unlocks how I navigated.
It really does. It really does. And people can see it in you when it's there. Right. And so it's really, more of us really need that, because the things that some of us are tolerating in the workplace and in other aspects of our lives, we would not if we loved ourselves. We just simply would not. And when I came to really love myself, I was not prepared to tolerate those things anymore, right? They
Agreed.
just became unacceptable to me. And so the more that you love yourself, the more you're able to treat other people better, right? Because that also reflects in how you treat other people, right? And
Yes.
so it's a really important thing that you have realized that many of us haven't yet realized, right? And it negatively impacts the way we're out in the world, because we allow things to take place at work and other places that we should not, because we don't have that love, and that we've been taught, especially as Black people, that there's something wrong with you to say what you just said. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you're supposed to love yourself. How are you supposed to love anybody else or anything else if you don't love you?
Right.
Right? But we've really been taught the opposite.
And it puts you in a position of self-sacrifice.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that is, in my opinion, that's no way to live your life, because you're not living your life for you. You're living it in service of someone else whose whims and desires may change.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
it leaves you
exactly right.
disappointed always.
Always, always. You'll always be disappointed in your life if you're living it for other people. And that includes, to me, being as your kids, your
Yes.
spouse, anybody. I really
Yeah.
believe that so many of us have sacrificed our entire lives in service of other people. And only
Yes.
when we get to be in our 60s and 70s, you know, we realize what we've been doing. And so the sooner you can, that doesn't mean that you don't love people. That doesn't mean that you don't want the best for them. It doesn't mean that you don't look out for them, but you do have to think about your happiness. Your happiness actually does matter, and I think a lot of us, especially Black women, sacrifice that. We do not put ourselves first. And that's
It's,
why, our life expectancy is what it is. Our quality of life is what it is.
yeah.
And so I really, and coaching is one of the things that can help you get to realize that. Right.
Yes.
And so I really want more of us to have this, as, access this, because it can really help transform the way that you treat yourself, right? And others. Because when you
Yes.
really love yourself, it impacts how you treat other people and show up with other people for the better, not
Yes.
negatively, but actually for the better. So doing that kind of self-work actually benefits everyone around you.
And
Right?
people have no choice but to show up differently with this
Exactly.
improved, enhanced version of who you are. And for some people, that means they no longer can tolerate to be around you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
That is A-okay. That's a gift in and of itself, when people
It is.
themselves of their own volition. This has been a really great conversation, Alexis. It's very nice to finally meet you. I always
You
love meeting
too.
the coaches that are in the directories, and some of the people that I also even meet on LinkedIn. And you're one of my favorite people on LinkedIn. So I'm glad I finally got to meet you. Thank you for taking the time. I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation with Coach Alexis Mobley. Her information, again, will be in the description of this conversation. So if you are looking for someone to help you transform your life, at your personal life and your work life, this is someone that you should consider working with and reach out to and talk to. Thank you guys for joining me for another Conversations with Black Women Who Coach, and I'll see you in the next video.